You just walked into a room and forgot why you came. And without thinking, you said it out loud. What did I come in here for? To no one. You were completely alone. And your brain just spoke. Maybe you narrate what you're doing while you cook. Maybe you give yourself a pep talk before something difficult. Maybe you replay arguments out loud, saying the things you wished you'd said. And maybe, just maybe, you've wondered if this is normal. Not only is it normal, it might be one of the most sophisticated things your brain does. And the people who do it most tend to think better. If you talk to yourself, you are in extraordinary company. Research suggests that the vast majority of people engage in some form of self-talk, the internal or external voice that narrates, questions, plans, and evaluates your experience as you move through the world. In 2011, psychologist Ethan Kross at the University of Michigan found that self-talk is so fundamental to human cognition that people who are prevented from engaging in it through specific cognitive interference tasks show measurable drops in performance on complex tasks. Your inner voice isn't a quirk. It isn't a sign of loneliness or instability. It is, according to the research, a core feature of how the human mind operates. The question isn't why you talk to yourself. The question is what your brain is actually doing when you do. The scientific term is inner speech, and psychologist Lev Vygotsky was the first to seriously study it back in the 1930s. Vygotsky found that children begin by talking out loud as they play and solve problems, narrating their actions, asking themselves questions, working through difficulties verbally. Over time, this external speech gradually becomes internalized, turning into the silent inner monologue that most adults experience. But here's what's fascinating. It never fully disappears. Under pressure, in moments of confusion, or when facing something emotionally difficult, the inner voice often breaks back to the surface. You say it out loud. And Vygotsky argued this wasn't regression. It was your brain pulling out its most powerful tool. Because speaking something out loud forces your brain to process it differently. It activates different neural pathways. It creates a kind of external observer, a version of you that can hear the thought and evaluate it, rather than just being inside it. Here's where it gets really interesting. Not all self-talk works the same way. Psychologist Ethan Kross at the University of Michigan ran a series of experiments that revealed something surprising. The way you address yourself when you talk to yourself matters enormously. People who talk to themselves using their own name, or the word you, rather than I, perform significantly better under pressure, regulate their emotions more effectively, and recover from setbacks faster. So instead of I can do this, try you can do this, Alex. Instead of I'm so nervous, try Alex, you're nervous, and that's okay. Kross called this distanced self-talk, and brain scans showed it activates the prefrontal cortex more effectively, reducing the emotional flooding that first-person self-talk can sometimes intensify. You're essentially giving yourself the advice you'd give a friend. And it turns out we're much better at advising friends than ourselves. Here's something that might surprise you. Not everyone has an inner voice. In 2020, psychologist Russell Hurlburt at the University of Nevada estimated that roughly 25 to 30% of people experience little to no inner verbal monologue. They think in images, feelings, sensations, but not in words. And they often have no idea that other people have a constant verbal narrator running in their head. This is called anendophasia, the absence of inner speech, and it was largely unknown until social media allowed people to discover, often with complete shock, that the experience of inner narration varies enormously from person to person. Neither is better, neither is worse. They're simply different cognitive architectures. But knowing which one you are, verbal thinker or non-verbal thinker, can explain a lot about how you process stress, solve problems, and relate to your own emotions. The content and tone of your self-talk also reveals something important. Psychologist Kristin Neff at the University of Texas has spent years studying self-compassion and found that most people talk to themselves in ways they would never speak to another person. Harsh, critical, unforgiving. You're so stupid. Why did you do that? You always mess up. Neff's research found that this kind of self-critical inner voice actually increases cortisol levels and activates the threat response system, the same system that fires when you're in physical danger. Your brain cannot fully distinguish between being attacked by someone else and being attacked by your own voice. The self-critic and the predator activate the same alarm. And the antidote, Neff found, isn't positive thinking or forced optimism. It's self-compassion, speaking to yourself the way you'd speak to someone you genuinely care about. Not softer, just kinder. So what do you actually do with all of this? 3 things. First, pay attention to your self-talk for one day. Just notice it. Is it first person or second person? Harsh or kind? Narrating or evaluating? Most people have never consciously listened to their own inner voice. Just observing it begins to change it. Second, when you're facing something difficult, a challenge, a setback, a moment of self-doubt, switch to distant self-talk. Use your own name. What should Alex do here? It sounds strange the first time. It works anyway. Third, the next time your inner critic fires, and it will, try replacing the attack with the question you'd ask a friend. Not, why did I do that? But, what were you trying to do? And what would you do differently? Curiosity instead of prosecution. That shift alone, the research suggests, is enough to change how your brain processes the experience. The voice in your head isn't random noise. It's your brain's most sophisticated tool, built over years of experience, refined by every difficult moment you've ever navigated. It speaks to you more than anyone else ever will. It's with you when you wake up and when you fall asleep. It narrates your failures and your victories. And it has more influence over how you feel and what you do than almost anything in your external world. So the next time you catch yourself talking to yourself, in a quiet room, in the middle of a task, in the mirror before something hard, don't be embarrassed. Listen, that voice is trying to help you. It just sometimes needs a little coaching.